seen, well, I haven't seen, but I've heard healers using it. I'm gonna roll my eyes at that one. It's not even a full heavy, honestly. I have it on right now, and you don't even have to do a full heavy. Okay, you can literally just look at the boss. That's a heavy. Well, let me hit the boss. That's a heavy. That's a heavy. And so you don't have to do a full, like a full heavy. Like you don't have to do that. You can literally just do a bit, half a second like that. You don't have to do the full one, guys. So keep that in mind when you're running Arch Druid, because if you're not blocking, you're likely to get knocked down. So you want to just try you block, like heavy block. Okay. So those are the monster sets I would recommend. If you're still learning to tank, it's not bad to run with a couple other monster sets like Vicosa, causing major cowardice. There's a lot of skills out there that can give major cowardice, but if you don't have it, that can come in handy. It used to be really good in VSS. Bash the Dragon. Okay, cool. Now you can eat the breath like no problem. Lord Warden. Lord Warden is another one that people used to run a lot. If you're still learning to tank and you still want to give something to your group, then I would recommend you could use it. It just gives them physical and spell resistance within 8 meters. It's a circle around you. Ones I would not want to use just because you're thinking I need to have resistance up is Mighty Chudan. That one is garbage. Honestly, don't use it because all it does is it gives you major resolve at all times. So you're going to take a skill off your bar, but you don't need it. Like, come on, that doesn't give your group benefit anything. They don't get anything from it. So don't use that one. Another one that I've seen tanks using, it's going to be over here in regular dungeons. Troll King, that situation, not Troll King. Troll King is VCR, you can run it, but where is it? Engine Guardian. Some tanks like to run this because they have sustain issues. Ask for more synergies. You do not need to do this one. I would vote against Engine Guardian in a lot of content, but it can be situational. If you're like the third tank, you already got all your main monster sets out there, but you don't need it. Yeah, Major Resolve. Yeah, if you're rare Mighty Chudan, it used to be different though. Calponi didn't. It used to just give you armor. It didn't do Major Resolve. Now it does Major Resolve, and your Warden Healer's giving you that shit. The other one that's situational, you can get away with running is the where'd it go? Bloodspawn off tank. I mean, you can do that to build ulti if you're trying to be more of an ulti off tank because you don't need to do much. You could do that, but it's not benefiting the group at all. It's just giving you ultimate. So your ultimate would have to be something that benefits the group. Lady Thorn. Lady Thorn is really good on a necro tank because necro tanks can synergize their own graveyard. You can throw down your graveyard. You can have a blood pool. It gives major maim. So it can be beneficial in some content, but major maim is controlled by destructive clinch, so you don't really need it at all. And Tremor Scale. That's another one that if you do not have another set in group, Alkosh, then you can run Tremor Scale. Tremor Scale will help reduce the armor. You'll need that in order to get to pin cap. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have Alkosh, you can get away with Tremor Scale. And one of the sets that we're going to go when we get to 5 pieces. I've never ran brain fart. I've never ran Baron on VRG hard mode, but you can. You can, but I would say you can get away with other things. I wouldn't necessarily use that one. I would use the one from. Just gotta remember it. Swarm. No, not Swarm mode. I think it's Wayrest. Where this one gives you major vitality at all times when you're tethered, because you are taking a lot of bleed damage. But if you're being guarded, then you're already getting major vitality, so it's not really a big deal. But I wouldn't wear Baron because yeah, you get ulti, um, but that's the monster sets I would recommend, guys. Now, when we get to trial sets, it just depends on what your other tank is wearing because you don't want to ever be crossing with them. But for a main tank, I really like to run Sax. I'm running Sax on mine. And so basically, anytime you use an ultimate, you're giving major force to your group. It replaces a war horn. If you want to do a war horn, you can do a horn and get some of your resources back. So if we want to go over here, put on a war horn. And we got to find a cheap dummy. I have one up top. So if you hit a dummy, I don't want to hit a 21 mil because if I do, then it's going to... Yeah, cow pony, stop brain farting. You hit a 21 mil and then it gives you a horn anyway. So, like, if you... And of course I didn't get my ultimate. So if you do a horn, you get major force, okay? We're going to take you with us. But if you have Sax on, you get major force. The horn will still give resources, but you get other benefits from using Sax and you're doing a different ultimate. I don't know if this thing will be able to be used up here, honestly. Yeah, it can. Okay, there we go. So if I do, we're in combat, we don't want major force. Now we got major force. That's 32 seconds because I was at 500. So you still get the major force, but you also get all your resources. You get a buff on your resources. Okay, now we're going to get our ultimate back. We're going to let the horn fall off. You'll see where our resources really are at. And then we'll do a different ultimate this time. And you'll see you'll still get the major force, but you'll get a barrier this time. So you can see major horn increase your mag and stam by 10% for 30 seconds. So after it falls off, I'm down to back 24 and 21. Okay, so we'll start the combat. And now we get major force, but you also get a giant damage shield. Huge damage shield, so you're not getting the resources. So you can still run Sax and still run a horn if you want to. I suggest doing a shield and just do a barrier rotation using a shield. Because if you're needing to do Sax, not necessarily need to do Sax, but you want a damage shield on bosses. It helps the DPS, especially the ones that stand in stupid a lot. I've seen a lot of really high hitting DPS, but they're just out of position a lot of the time, and that barrier or even a magma shell will save their lives. Okay. Another set that you would want to try and run as a main tank. And this is where it gets kind of confusing because you can do Sax, that's your back bar. Okay, that's a proc set. But what can be your body set? And you can literally do 2 to 3 different body sets. And the one I'm running on my tank right now is Lucent Citadel, the Lucent Echo set. So when your health is above 50%, you increase your critical damage, critical healing by 11%. That's basically what EC does. You're 4% below EC. That's Element of Catalyst. But when you drop below 50%, now you're not taking damage from monsters, so you're not going to die. It's very hard to die. You would literally have to have like a lot of people down and just take a bunch of damage. So I'm running down my main tank because, well, even as a main tank, you're not really taking a lot of damage to drop below 50%. It's very rare. But it's interchangeable. You can put that on your off tank. You can put Sax on an off tank. So that's why the next couple sets are kind of interchangeable. Another set you can put on your tank is Pearlescent Ward. Pearlescent Ward, it grants you and your 11 members a bonus. If they're all up, they get damage bonus. If they're all dead, you get damage mitigation for everybody. So that comes in handy. And you mix that with That has to be up all the time. Same with Lucent, it has to be up all the time. So that would be your body sets, and they're interchangeable between your two tanks. Then you got uh, dungeon sets. Okay, we got a couple of dungeon sets you can run, and the one I see a lot of people running, I stopped running TT, which is Turning Tide, but it gives major vuln. You bash, get major vuln, and you can wear that with Nazare, and you can control when you extend your major vulnerability, so you don't have to wait on a Colossus. You bash, cast your ulti, now you got major vuln for however many seconds it adds on from your Nazare. That would be a proc set. So you would either be in Sax or you'd be in TT. And then you would have Pearlescent or Lucent. So what would that be? Pearlescent Body and TT, or Lucent Citadel and TT? And then you can do Sax and another set on your other bar. So that would be a PvP. And PvP, you get, and I'm pretty sure it's in Cyrodiil. I always do this. It's not in Cyrodiil, I'm sure. Now I'm thinking twice. It's not going to be in here. Yep, Pearl City. There it is. So Powerful Assault. It's just a unique buff. You're not going to get that from anywhere else. But when you cast an assault ability, like your Warhorn, like your Warhorn is Warhorn, or if you cast Vigor, you're going to give your group members spell and weapon damage. It's just a unique buff. You're not going to get that from anywhere else, so you can run that. You're supposed to tell me this before I started going through all the Cyrodiil. So PA. So PA is another proc set. So you do Sax PA. You can. But then you'd have Pearl Lucent, and then you're losing out on the benefits. So you don't do that. You would do Pearl PA or Lucent PA, and then you could do Pearl Sax or Lucent Sax. And then if you don't want to necessarily run one of those sets, or you can't get one of the sets, then you want to mix in TT. Or you might want to mix in another set. We are going to... Yeah, you got to always hit it twice, obviously. It only affects up to 5 people and yourself, so you got to hit it twice. We'll be back here in a minute. We got an ad break going on, so 1 minute lunch break. And we are back, guys. So then you got some dungeon sets that you'd want to wear if you... Not everybody's going to go in and get Pearlescent and Sax and Lucent Echoes, because you might not have the benefit of getting into those groups. It is a 12-person group. They do have Group Finder now. But not everybody wants to give up their gear. Whether they have it bound to their account or not, they're not going to give it up. So if you're trying to farm the gear, wear the sets that you have until you can get to those best in slot sets. The trial sets are going to be your top tier sets. But if you don't have Alkosh, I mentioned Trimmer Scale, but Trimmer Scale is not going to get you all the way up to the pin cap without Alkosh. So you would have to run another set. And the other set will be from a DLC dungeon, and it is... Wow, did I just forget where it came from? Help me, Cow Pony. Which dungeon is that from? I completely forgot. Unhallowed Grave? No. Dread Cellar. I got it. Yeah. Black Drake Villain? No. No. Um, so basically, this would give you your armor mitigation that you would take off the boss, another 3,300. So you'd have 3,300 plus 1,700 from your tremor scale. It replaces Alkosh. And all you gotta do is either drink a potion, do an ability that gives you a major or minor buff. Oh my gosh, we do major resolve on ourselves all the time. You're using a potion that gives you minor endurance and minor all those minor endurance and fortitude and um, intelligence all the time. So there is no reason why you couldn't keep this up all the time. And that would be a proc set. So if you can't get Sax or you can't get PA, run this. It's perfectly fine to run this, but then you would want to make sure that you're and taunt. Yeah, taunt does major breach. And it gives you minor protection if you use the ransack ability, but you're always able to run this set if you don't have Alkosh, and then you can put someone in more of a straight damage burn or help out your DPS getting into a different set, or they just don't have Alkosh. So it helps switching up a couple things. Okay, so then we got arena weapons. There's two different arena weapons that I recommend between the two tanks for a DK. And one is going to be, they're all from arenas. One is going to be from the Dragonstar arena. You got Puncture and Remedy. You heal yourself, even if you don't need the resistance, okay? You don't need the resistance, because you might be a cap. You get a 6,100 heal. Like, every time you taunt, well, every 5 seconds, you get to taunt. And you get to heal from it. And that comes really big on major bosses. A lot from the DLC bosses, it really helps. As long as you have your hots on you and you're able to do this little heal on you, you're not die. You can't die. So that's one you would use for bosses. You wouldn't want to necessarily use that for ad pools, because you're not really taking that much damage from ad pools to actually get affected by this. So then for ad pools, you're going to go down here and use the Void Bash. Basically, just do a bash mechanic, bash an ad, all your ads get pulled in. Within 12 meters, they just get pulled in right on top of you, and they get major main. So now they're not doing much damage anyway. They got pulled on top of you, but they're not doing that much damage. So that's one I would use for ad pulls. Now, script abilities kind of change the game a lot, so I'm going over basically pre-script, and then you can go over different scripts that you want to test out. But the Void Bash is how you used to be able to do the ad control, for sure. You still chain things in there outside of that 12 meters, but you can chain things further. So that's your gear setups, guys. Now, glyphs on a DK, it really comes in handy running a poison glyph on your front bar weapon. Anytime your glyph pops, you're going to get stand back. That's one of your passes from being a DK. So I don't use the Asylum one, honestly. We'll look at it. We'll give a quick little glance at the Asylum Sanctorum one. You can use that. You sure can. But if you look at the trials, when are you not getting projectile? If you were in VRG, arrow guys are going to constantly be shooting you. If you're in Final Boss, I mean, you're getting the breaths that people do, the Daedrith and stuff, they're going to be caused a projectile. You got the Dragon on BSS, that's considered a projectile. Plus all the elemental damage is considered a projectile. You got VK, lightning damage is considered a projectile. So you are blocking, and you can use defensive posture, but you only get it back if you don't reflect any kind of projectile or absorb a projectile. So it can be used. I've never actually gotten into using defensive that one in itself, but you could. That is definitely right, Cowpony. You can use it. And Cowpony, he's a pretty good tank, so I will let him speak on that one. Don't talk though. This is my show. You can type, but don't talk. Now we go into the glyphs, guys. Poison glyph, it will help keep your stamina just by light attacking, puncturing. Whenever you cause your poison weapon enchant to go off, you get stamina back. If you cause fire damage, you get mag back. So it's just a benefit. Then I got triglyphs on all my gear. Okay, you can see I have triglyphs on everything. And that's just because you want your max health, stam, and your max health, magicka, and stam. But if you can't get the Akijos, you don't PvP, you don't have any friends, and you don't have any gold. Okay, then why are you playing the game? Just kidding. But you can put on a couple of max health, couple of max stam, couple of max mag. You're basically around the same pool. Okay? It's perfectly fine. But if you really want to get to that, like, best in slot, almost every tank is using triglyphs on all their pieces, all 7 body and their shield. Then you get to your back bar weapon. You want to do crushing and you want to have it infused. It just increases the chance of you getting your enchantment to go off, and it reduces the physical and spell resistance of your target. So if you want to make sure you're always at pin cap, you need to have this. You got Out Caution Group. That won't get you a cap if you don't have a Crusher enchantment. So if you don't want to put crushing, wear Tremor Scale. It basically will replace the Tremor Scale. But at the end of the day, it's good to have a crushing enchantment. It's very easy to keep up. You have it, and then you and then yeah, that will proc your enchantment. Okay, so you got a wall, proc your enchantment. So what happens when you have a guild house, man? They come in, they want to do stuff, which is awesome. I love when people use my house. So yeah, that's how I would set up my gear for the weapons, and then you got your monster sets, all that good stuff. Now this isn't my typical jewelry. I move stuff around, but it's fine. I still got the typical enchantments on them. But I use the prismatic cost enchantment, okay? That reduces the health, magic, and stamina abilities of all my skills. Every skill is cheaper. Okay, so like that usually will cost that much health, then you can get more skills off. And then you got I got 1 harmony. But you can get away with 2 harmony and an infused. I do 2 protective because I'm doing a lot more pug runs, so I need a little bit more resistance just to make sure that I'm not dying. I like to be right over cap, but usually for my progs, this is going to be infused, and then I got 2 harmony. But to each his own. I would say the traits on your jewelry is more suited to how you want to play. You can say the same thing about the glyphs, but really when it comes to the jewelry, you just want to make sure you have enough resistance. You want to have enough resource management. If you have plenty of resources, maybe you want to do an infused. Infused will just make it where your glyph is a little bit stronger. No, they didn't change harmony back. It still just gives you 880 health, mag, and stam instead of giving you. It used to be a percentage, I think, like a percentage back. But if you had 2 harmony pieces, that's 1700 health, mag, and stamina gain back every time you synergize. If you had 3 harmony, 2500. And I mean, if you look at my health pool and my mag and stam pool, that is a lot of resources I'll be getting back. That's almost a 1/8 of my resources. So it's beneficial. Okay. Now we can go on to skills. Now, for a DK tank, and I know Cow Pony's going to say, well, where's your igneous weapons? Where's your engulfing flames? Well, I'm expecting my Zen's DK to do all that. If I don't have a Zen's DK, I'll put on igneous weapons. But most of the time as a main tank, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing the Stone Giant or any of that. But I'll go over all those skills to make you the best tank you can be as a DK tank and for each situation. Now I use this because I'm in sacks. So front bar, that's your bread and butter, guys. You gotta taunt things, and this will cause taunt for 15 seconds. Do it over and over, you're gonna over taunt something. But it gives major minor breach. It's the epitome of your build. I've seen a lot of tanks going to double ice stabs. That's cool, but you got to find a way of causing major minor breach, whether it be your DPS, maybe it's a healer, maybe it's you. But this automatically does major minor breach. It's like the epitome. This is my what's it called? My spare slot. So I use this as a shield throw, but it's not necessarily for the shield throw itself. It's more for just a quick range taunt. Gives me health, mag, and stam recovery back, and major maim on the ad that it pulls in. It's an extra chain, but it also goes to my cosplay because if you want to see it, basically I'm doing a shield throw. If I can target it, why won't put it down? Okay. So cosplay, throw my shield. Why won't you target him? Shield throw. And I'm Captain America. So there you go. But it gives me my resource management that I like to have and major maim. Now I use coagulating blood. I know a lot of people still try and use the green dragon blood and all that good stuff. Green dragon blood's great, but if you look at the passives that it does for you, you're getting all that from your potions. Okay? You should be using tri-stat potions. Okay? And that already gives you major intellect, major endurance, major fortitude, increasing all your recoveries, and gives you your basic stuff back, right? Well, then why not just get away with just doing coagulating? It's a bigger heal. It starts at 50% instead of being under 30%. Probably. It probably has to do with my small wiener, cow pony. And then this one is another spare slot. This is where you would have your stone giant, but because I don't do that most content, this is what I use to help get my minor resolve, especially if I'm running ahead of all the healers and I'm always doing leapfrog with the other tank to make sure the ad pulls are pulled in. This is my form of minor resolve. It used to be vigor, so I'd have resolving vigor here. You can use this, you can use stone giant. There's a couple items. It gives me a damage shield. It reduces damage taken by 8% and gives me minor resolve. And it's very neat. Like, okay, so I buff up and then I cast this. It didn't do anything yet, but when I go into combat, as soon as I taunt something, it goes off. And now I got a shield and I got minor resolve and I'm taking less damage. If I do it and I'm going into combat and I'm rolling through something, it procs when I roll dodge. If I do it again, as soon as I do another skill, it goes off. And then if you didn't want to do that, you can literally just keep casting it and it keeps going off and then it's ready to go off on the next time you do a skill. So it's a fun skill. It's definitely it's worth using. It does come in handy because it's not just your shield, it also gives a shield to your teammates. Up to 6. It doesn't say 6, but it's up to 6. Then you got your igneous shield. Okay, igneous shield it's very good, but you have to use that before you do any kind of heal on yourself because of what it does. It gives you major mending. It gives you a damage shield. It gives a damage shield to your teammates near you, but also gives you major mending so you can get out of those situations. So if I'm damaged, which I'll just hurt myself real quick. Get my health all the way down. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. If I do a heal, it didn't do that much, right? But if I do Igneous Shield and then heal, it shoots up. So you want to use Igneous and then you want to use your Green Dragon Blood. If you have another heal ability, just make sure you're casting your Igneous first and then do your heal to make sure you're actually getting the full effect. And then I use Barrier on my front bar. I rarely use Barrier. I don't need to use Barrier. If I do, I use Replenishing because anytime it goes off and the water dissolves, I get Magicka and Ultimate back. But I use it for the passives. By having Barrier on your bar, you get increased mag recovery from the Mage's Guild skill line. Not Mage's Guild. Support skill line. My mag recovery is higher by just having it slotted. So I use it mostly just for my mag recovery. Because it's on a bar that doesn't have sacks on it, it can be more of an oh shit, but I use a shield on my back bar that benefits the group, and I change it off for Bear if I need to, or I'll change it off for Warhorn if I need to. But it's a really good, just to give you that passive, 10% increase. Okay, now you got your range taunt. I like using Destructive Clinch, same range as Inner Fire now, or Inner Rage. It causes major maim, but the negative between Frost Clinch and Inner Rage is Frost Clinch will actually immobilize the enemy. So if you're trying to get everything pulled in quickly, they're not going to run to you because they're frozen. So you might want to do Inner Fire if you're doing a trial where you need to pull a lot of things, but you don't have enough resources to taunt everything and then chain them. So you can do Inner Fire. But this is very helpful for your range taunt, and it gives major maim. This is my chain ability. I use it on my DK also because it gives me major vitality a lot longer than what Igneous does, but it also restores your 1000 mag and stam for now until the next patch. But you can also get away with just doing your typical chain. It replenishes the same amount of mag and stam based on your passives, and it gives you major expedition. So if you have something if you have to move around a lot, I would still use this chain. VCR, VDSR, you have to move. So I would put this chain on for those kind of trials where you have a little bit more mobility, especially if you're using Bracing Anchor. Then I got Leashing Burst. Leashing Burst is my AoE pull since I am trying to get away from using Vatishran so much. And that will pull in enemies. Again, it says pull enemies within 8 meters of you, but it still only does between 6 and 8 people. But anybody within the same meters, 8 meters of me, I reduce damage taken by 2% plus 1 per enemy for 5 seconds. So it helps me get everything pulled in, healers to get in position, get their hots down, and I'm not taking very much damage during that time. I have it set to do interrupt, mostly because I've been doing a lot of Lucent Citadel, and it helped interrupt the enemies the way we have our strat set up at the very end of the mirror boss. So that's why I have it set that way. But it does pull things in, and it puts them directly in front of you, into one body. There's my balance. That's my form of major resolve. It also gives you your mag back. You can use another skill if you want to stick with your class passives or class skills. You can use Hardened Armor. Gives you a damage shield as well. Sends flame damage back at the enemy. Anytime you do flame damage, you are getting mag back, so that is a benefit of using Hardened Armor. So you can use that one, but I do prefer using the Mage's Guild because it lasts longer. 32 seconds compared to the 20. And then you got to have your Blockade of Frost. That will cause minor breach. If you didn't have minor breach on your front bar or whatever, but use that to get your crushing enchantment off and give a little bit of a damage shield to your allies. And then I use Magma Shell. Magma Shell is because I got sacks on. If I didn't have sacks on, I'm going straight to Horn. But Magma Shell will give me major force. No. It gives me a damage shield. I mean, 100% of my health. I mean, it's super strong. And then it gives my allies a shield as well. Like, it's just as good as barrier in my opinion, except it's a lot cheaper. So it's a really good ultimate. Just like any other, you got to make sure you have your passives, guys. Any other tank, you apply burning or poison to an enemy, you restore 1,000 magic and stamina. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds. So anytime you proc your enchantment on your sword, it used to just be poison for stamina and mag for burning, but they mixed it. It looks like I forgot they did that. You're getting 1,000 back. If you do your chain ability, you're getting 1,000 back. So it is a good thing to use. Make sure you have combustion. Want to put on warmth, guys. It reduces the enemy's speed from all your direct abilities, which it would be your chain, which would be your, well, for my build, it's mostly just your chain. But if you had hardened armor, any deflection of a projectile would be considered a direct damage. It slows their enemy. Searing heat increases the damage over time of all your abilities. Not Siri, searing. It just increases the length of everything that you're using. So if you're going to be doing engulfing flames, you want to have searing heat because it'll increase the duration of it. And then World and Ruin increase the damage of your flame and poison attacks by 5%. And if you can get a little bit more damage off of your chain, it helps the DPS a little bit because we all know they need as much help as you can give them. Draconic Power, this is your tank line. This is where you really need all your passives. It increases the amount you can block. The ability your healing is received increased by 12% just by having a draconic ability active. So Quagging Dragon Blood, Hardened Armor. You get more heals. You get increased health recovery for having a draconic power slotted. So that's also a bonus. And then scaled armor, increase your physical and spell resistance. So you do want to have all these just like you did on the first one. Earth and Heart, increase the duration of Earth and Heart. Again, you want this because if you're using igneous weapons, that just makes it where your DPS can be poor just like you. They can get major brutality and sorcery without actually using potions. So you can put on igneous weapons and it'll last a lot longer just by having Eternal Mountain. Battle Roar, you gotta have this because anytime you cast an ultimate, you replenish health, mag, stam, all that good stuff. So if I get rid of everything, I don't know if I can get rid of all of it, but let's say we're low on health. I'm gonna get it down, and then we get rid of stam. And then we cast an ultimate, we get it all back. Like, it's an easy resource management, so you do want to have that passive for sure. And then Helping Hands. When you cast Earth and Heart ability, you get stam. Can't be used with a stamina ability. But if we are literally out of mag, or not mag, stam. Let me get rid of my stam. Get rid of all my stam. It'd probably be quicker to just roll dodge. Okay, we're out of stam, but we have full mag, and we're blocking because we're in combat. I'll just cast Igneous Shield. I'm getting stam back just by casting Igneous Shield. And I'm blocking. It's still going to give it to me, but it's a bonus from your passives. Then we go down to your one-handed shield. Okay, you're using Pierce Armor. You can go down here. You got reduce the stamina cost of your one-hand abilities with your shield. You got to have it slotted 36%, so you can puncture more. Don't over puncture; you'll cause over taunting. Increase the weapon and spell damage. The amount of damage you can block by 20%. Again, you're blocking a lot, so you do want to make sure you can block as much as you can. Still have this slotted because if you do the bash mechanic, if there's an enemy that's channeling and you need to bash them, you don't want to spend all your stamina trying to get a bash off, guys, especially if you're low in stam already. Deflect bolts, that's going to block all your projectiles and range attacks by 14%. So again, it just helps with your mitigation. And then when you're blocking with battlefield mobility, you can move around a lot. So this is me moving normally. This is me moving with a block. It's very similar to the same speed, but if you didn't have the battlefield mobility, you would literally be moving like this. Maybe not that fast, like that, which is god-awful. Destruction Scaff, you can use Trifocus. I do not use Trifocus personally. There's been too many glitches in the past that makes me not want to use it. They say they fix it, then it's not fixed. Then they say it's fixed, and then it's not fixed. So I don't use it, but you can, and it will let you basically block with mag instead of stand when you're on an ice staff. Penetrating magic, it just helps do a little bit more damage whenever you're doing your wall and your destructive clinch. Elemental force lets you put your status effects, so that would be your chilled from your ice staff onto the boss or the ads. This will give you a decreased amount of resources, let you block more damage just by having an ice staff used. So that's benefit of using ancient knowledge. You just reduce your cost of blocking, and then absorb damage with your destructive staff shield. You restore 1800 magnesia. So destruction expert is another one. So I use all of them, but Trifocus. But you can use Trifocus. We're going to take a quick break while we have our ad break up. Unless Cal Pony can confirm that he didn't actually get an ad break. Because he won't sub to my channel, so I know he gets those. Okay. So we'll move on. Since we're using a piece of light, medium, and heavy armor, guys, we're going to look at each of these passives. Just by having one of the pieces on, you reduce your damage from magical attacks, reduce the cost of your roll dodge, movement speed while sneaking, which we don't sneak, cost of break free, and reduce the cost of bash. Those are all your bonuses for just having one piece of light armor on. Penalties, though, you get more martial attack damage from martial attacks. We're a tank, we can take it. Increase the cost of block. Well, we have so much mitigation from all of our other passives that reduces the cost of block. 3% is not going to be a big deal. And decreases the damage done with bash. It's fine. We got the passives that kind of counterbalance it. Then we got right here, reduce the effects and snares applied to you by 4%. So it just means we're not going to get frozen or knocked back as often. We got 4% right there. And the cost of sprint. We can run a little bit more just by having one piece of light armor on. Oh, no problem, Cal Pony. Thanks for coming in, man. Then you also get magic recovery up to 4% just by having one piece on, and the reduce of your magic abilities by 2%. So that's also a benefit of having light. Increase your spell resistance for each piece of light armor. We have one, so we get 726. Spell crit rating. I would still say you want to do this. You can actually get away with not doing Prodigy if you don't have the skill points, but I use it because of my heal. I can actually get a crit heal every once in a while with you having Prodigy on there. And then physical and spell resist penetration. I don't need it, but at the same time, I had extra skill points, so I just filled them in because I was like, I didn't want to have a bunch of skill points just sitting at the top. Medium armor. You get a few passives here. Reduce the cost of your sprint. Sneak, blocking, reduces the damage taken from area of effects, which is really good as a tank. Movement speed, all that good stuff. You get a little bit of a benefit by wearing medium armor. Not a lot of negatives, though, is there? Dexterity, increase your critical damage and healing by 2% just by having it. So we do have medium armor on. Your stamina recovery, your stamina cost of your abilities is down based on how many pieces you're wearing. You got to improve sneak, which we don't sneak, but you can put it on there if you need to, which I think I did the Dark Brotherhood on this tank, and I didn't want to fight anything, so I use sneak. Increase your weapon and spell damage for each piece of medium armor, which, again, you're healing yourself, so you do want to make sure that you have some spell damage in order to do your heals. And then your movement speed, roll dodging. I mean, all those are benefits, so you do want to have all your passives. Heavy armor. Well, you're a tank. You're going to be wearing heavy armor. It reduces your damage taken from martial attacks, damage you can block, damage done with a bash, and reduce your damage taken while immune to crowd control. You're pretty much immune to crowd control a lot of the time if you're tanking the right way. Then you got penalties. Well, you're taking more damage from magical attacks. If you notice yourself taking a lot of magical attack, you can change up your setup. Just want to make sure that you're able to mitigate a lot of that damage. Um, and then you're slower wearing heavy armor, but in my runs, it seems like I'm always in medium armor, outrunning everybody, even though I'm in heavy. So it's not that much slower. Increase the cost of your roll dodge and increase the size of your detection. No biggie. So you get resolve. You put this in there because you're wearing all medium armor, all heavy armor. You're increasing your resistances, increasing your health recovery, and the amount you actually restore whenever you do a heavy attack. Or take damage, I mean, wearing heavy armor. Juggernaut, increase your max health. I got it up to 10%. Revitalize, each piece of armor, you're getting more stam, more mag back every time you do a heavy attack for each piece. And then Rapid Main, increasing my healing receipt by wearing heavy armor. So those are your passives. Again, you can wear different ones. If you're going to be rezzing someone, you can do Soul Summon, Soul Shower, all that good stuff. We're not going to go through every single passive in the game because there's a bunch of them. I'm just going to go over the pertinent ones. Mage's Guild, you do need some for Mage's Guild. Reduce the cost of your Mage's Guild abilities since you're using a balance skill. It makes it cheaper to use by having that on there. Increase the duration of your Mage's Guild abilities by 2 seconds. That just makes you have Major Resolve longer by having Everlasting Magic on because we have balance as our Major Resolve form. And then increase your Magicka and Magicka recovery for each skill slotted. Well, we do have one slotted. And if I had the Mage's Guild all the way up, that would actually be a little bit higher. We'd have it up to 2%. Okay, and then we got the Undaunted passives. Undaunted, you got one of each piece on, so you're going to getting more stam, mag, health recovery whenever you synergize. And you get more max health, stam, and magicka based on having one of each kind on, so it's up to 6. So you do want to make sure that you're wearing one of each, and you got all your passive abilities. From the Assault skill line, again, so I like to be fast, guys. You get Major Gallop at all times, increasing your mount speed by 30%. That comes in handy when I'm just running around. So I always have continuous attack on. I don't really PvP, so if you can't really get that maxed out, that's perfectly fine. But I always have it on because I'm always wanting to be in front of the pack. HRC, you get to be on your mount. You get to run ahead. In support, you really just need Magic Aid, like we talked about earlier. You need to make sure you have that mag recovery. So you need to, every time you have a skill slotted, you get mag recovery. Now my tune is an Imperial. There's a couple of tanks you could use, Nord, Imperial, and Argonian. Argonian is more of a beginner setup, and every time you do a potion, you get all your resources. Nord, you get more resistances, so you're going to be more closer to the cap all the time. And Imperial, well, you get more resources as a pool. So health, stam, all my abilities cost less, and I get more health. And then it's easy to level my one-handed shield, and I get more gold by being Imperial. Nord, you're resistant to cold. You get more spell and physical resistance. I think it's just spell resistance, actually. And increase inspiration when you're doing a two-hander, which is, you're never using a two-hander. But Nord is a really good one to do if you didn't want to be an Imperial or you don't have the DLC. And Argonian is more base, like if you need practice being a tank, Argonian's a good starter point. There's a lot of like elite tanks that are still using Argonian, so it's not like you have to be an Imperial or you have to be a Nord. You can really tank on any class, but the best ones for tanking based on their benefits are going to be those 3. Now you do need to go into alchemy, and you do need to level alchemy up. You need medicinal use, so just make sure potions last longer. So you got that fortitude, you got the endurance, you got the intelligence longer. You want to do, that's about it from here. And then you got your provisioning. If you got food you're eating, you want to have gourmand. If you have a drink, you want to make sure you have connoisseur. I mix the two. I go between the two because I don't always have a food, I don't always have a drink. So I want to make sure I have the full amount of time I'm able to get from my food and drink. So that is my tank setup, guys. Again, you can change this ability to be a chain, and this can be igneous weapons. And then if you want to wear Vadistrin, you can actually take off igneous weapons and do um, power slam. That'll be your void bash one. And if you didn't have defensive stance, or no, not if you didn't want to do this one, you wanted to do void bash, then you would want to do choke and talons, and you can put igneous here. Like, you can change it up pretty easily, guys. You have a lot of spare slots. The major ones is you got your range taunt, you got your major and minor breach with a physical taunt right in front of you, you got your heal, you got your shield, and then you got your major force for your group. Since I'm in Sax, it helps out, and you got your pen and major resolve right here. So that's my tank, guys. Now, there are a lot of skills that you're going to want to make sure you get, even as a tank, based on situation. Protective plate, it comes in handy in a lot of content. It reduces damage from projectiles. It lets you be immune to snares and immobilizations. So if you notice yourself going slow, you just pop that and you're back up to full speed. If you need to interrupt a lot of things, like VK after the second boss, VHOF, VLC, you can do deep breath. Boom, you're interrupting everything, and you're healing. Okay, so it's a benefit. So you do want to make sure you have that skill leveled up. Choke and Talons is going to help you get minor maim, but also hold people and immobilize them. That's why I said you can use that one. Over here, you got Stone Giant. That's just a unique buff that DKs can do, cause a stagger. I put it on my Zinskosh usually. But if you have to do it as a tank, then you got to get rid of one of these skills. But it just increases damage from your DPS about 2 to 4k per tune. So you're losing out on about 24 to 32k damage per second by not having stagger on your bar. So just keep that in mind. When I run VCR, I do like to use Cinderstorm, especially if you're going in Portal, because it slows down the enemies. So that way they can't come upstairs. So you can use Cinderstorm in a lot of situations if you want to use that, and then run in and then you help taunt everything because they're not running away from you. You can do that too. But it also heals you and your allies for being in it. So it's just a good little heal over time, but it's more for the immobilization, the movement speed. That's why we use it. One hand shield, defensive stance if you're going to be using the Vadistrin Sword Board, not Vadistrin Sword Board, the Asylum Sanctorum Sword Board that Cal Pony mentioned. You can use that right there. You can use Heroic Slash, get some minor heroism, cause minor maim, and then get some minor heroism by casting that ability, which is pretty cool. If you need a gap closer, like in VHOF, and you got to jump forward or whatever it is, do Shield Assault. It's kind of cool looking, especially on a Captain America tank. So anytime you want to use it, you just look at your enemy and you just charge in. So it's pretty cool. Don't need to use it, but it can have its benefits for a gap closer. If you're doing this trial where you can't get stunned because you're having to hold all this stuff, you're out of group, VSO, VAA, holding all the axes, whatever it is, and you need to make sure that you can get your resources back, you can use the shield discipline. Let you block with not actually blocking for 8 seconds, so you can get some heavies in, and you're not going to get stunned. Oh yeah, he does. He sure does. Chuckles. He sure does. So yeah, that's some of the skills from the two-hand sword and board that I would use. Destructive clinch. We talked about that one. You do an elemental blockade. You can do pulsar. It gives minor protection to everybody, so you can use pulsar since you're using a ice staff on your tank. You can also do weakness to elements. LE Sus is the preferred morph, and if you're doing something where you are upstairs in VCR and you have to do the orbs for the DPS, or you're downstairs and you're having to debuff the crystals, that means you're doing LE Sus. You're helping debuff by causing breach from a range, and you're not actually able to get up on things. Heavy armor, I have Unstoppable Brute. That just helps it where I don't get knocked back and I'm not disabled. I use that in oh shit circumstances where I don't need to move, because if you cast this ability, you cannot move. You're very slow. But you're basically doing a second magma shell. Like you're nearly unkillable, but you're not moving, you're not getting stunned, all that good stuff. So I do have that set just in case I need it. Um, Fighters Guild, Ring of Preservation if you need to give minor protection to anybody. There's some trials that they really want you to use that, so you can have that on your bar. Um, let's see, what's the other one? Inner Rage, we talked about that one a little while ago. It's a good way of little taunt. It does flame damage, so anytime you do flame damage, you're getting stand back, so that's a bonus. And you got Overflowing Altar. That's another heal for your group. You drop it and you forget it. It lasts for 30 seconds, helps heal the group, so it's just another benefit of having on your bar. Now down to Assault, you can do Resolving Vigor. That's a selfish one. You can get minor resolve from it, or you can do Echoing Vigor and give a heal to the group. You'll need that if you're going to be doing PA. You can do Resolving Vigor and Caltrops. That also slows down enemies. It gives major breach. But every time you cast, you do PA, you have to do it twice. So one Caltrops, one Vigor, or two Vigors, so forth. And then I have Charge and Maneuver. Because again, I said I want to be faster than everybody. So you got to have a little bit of rapids in there. Support skill line, got to have Purge. You never know when you're going to need Purge, especially as a tank. Healers are more focused on DPS half the time. So why wait for them to give you a Purge? You can slot it yourself and put on a Purge. Usually if you need to do that, you're not going to need your chain or something like that. So Purge, Mystic Guard, if you have to guard your other tank, it just lets you take some of the damage off of him, and it gives minor vitality to the other tank and yourself. Veiling Flare, a form of major protection just by having it on your bar. There's times where you just need a little bit more self-sustain and more safety. Well, that's when you can put on Revealing Flare. And then I use Propelling Shield in Tenacious Dreamer, which is Sandy's Edge hard mode. It increases the range of all skills that is greater than 28 meters. So if it's a 28-meter range like Crushing Shock, you increase it by 7 meters, so it goes up to 35. You can basically hit everything in the arena from standing still. Destructive Clinch goes up 7 meters. You can taunt things from across the arena. I use that in Boss Eye hard mode. You can literally taunt all the way across. You just got to pop it. That's it. And the more abilities you have on your bar, you get more mag recovery. So keep that in mind as well. That is all the skills, guys. That's my DK tank. I'm going to reset my skills. I'll show you my bar setup again. If you want to take video pictures or something, just make sure you give me some credit for where credit's due. But thanks for coming in today, guys. I appreciate all y'all. We're going to do some trials here in a little bit. But I wanted to get this video up for a friend of mine. He needed some help on his tank, so I wanted to get this together. So that way he is set to tank. Again, this is my bar setup for most trials that I'm doing lately, because why not? I hope you enjoyed, and go ahead and hit that follow if you liked what you see. If you really want to sub, that's cool. If you want to join Discord, just hit me up on the channel, and I can get you into our Discord. We are the Babe Tick Club, so tanks in training, growing every day. This will also be put on